this survey will clinch for the Hindu side the fact that this temple was indeed raised, of course, as per historical records too, and a mosque was built over it. Is that the game set match here?
इंडियन नेशनल डेवलपमेंटल इंक्लूसिव अलायंस का पर्याय हिंदी में सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका प्रयास, सबका विश्वास है। क्या सही मायने में आपकी अलायंस भारत के हित के लिए बनी है कि स्वहित के लिए बनी है?
Ask the Home Minister, ask the Prime Minister the tough questions on what they did and did not do in Manipur. But instead, you are lending the government an opportunity to claim that it's not them who's running away from the debate, but it's you, the opposition.
Good evening. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Toya Singh. On the show today, we're going to take a look at the day's top stories as we do every day through the lens of just the facts. In our first story today, technology meets national security. As the senior aide of Pakistan's Prime Minister admits live on television that drones are being used to drop drugs across the LOC. Now, this is the first admission of its kind. It corroborates allegations that we've discussed for years now that Pakistani peddlers are using high-tech means to pour narcotics into the country. Now, as far back as 2018, analysts have been warning that this could happen, that Pakistan-based drug cartels could be using drones on the India-Pakistan border in a similar pattern to what was already happening in other parts of the world, like the US-Mexico border. But what does this statement, made by a highly placed official in the Pakistan government, mean for India? And what can our forces do to tackle a technology that's being used world over for asymmetric warfare? That's what we're taking a look at today. Let's take a deep dive into the dates and take a look at each of the incidents that we have records for. First, in Jammu, we're going to take a look at 4 different states. We'll start with Jammu, right up north. In 2021, drones were sighted along the LOC 30 times. This is, of course, across the Indo-Pak border. Now, the number reduced to 25 in 2022. So it's important to note that at least in Jammu, there was a decline. But if we go to Punjab, which is where our story is focused today, drones were sighted along the LOC 65. That number increased in the year after that to 23 in 2022. That's almost 3 times, even though it is a smaller number than the number we're tracking in Punjab. Remember, the topography of Punjab is far more favorable to these conditions than that, for understandable reasons, of Rajasthan and Gujarat. In Gujarat, drone-related incidents were just 2 in 2021. There were 8 in 2022. So in total, there were 105 incidents in 2021 and 323 times drones were sighted in the year after that, in 2022. These are, of course, only the recorded incidents along the line of control. Now, we're going to next share with you some source-based information that we've got. These are, of course, from highly placed officials. We're going to share this with you on the screen next to me. What we've learnt is that Pakistan is now using the drug network to fund its terror agenda. This is an exclusive input by CNN News 18's Manoj Gupta. This is a deeper dive into all of these details. What he's claiming is that Pakistan is escalating terror funding through the narcotics route. ISI is also trying to send drugs through infiltrating terrorists. Remember, this is something that the security analysis industry, the network across the country, has long believed, that the ISI is funding this entire network. There is a nexus between terrorists and overground workers in Kashmir. This is according to the input that we got from my colleague Manoj Gupta, as we just told you. What he's also suggesting is that the ISI calls these groups Kashmiri Khalistani desks, and that this narco business funds terror activities in Kashmir. Again, this is all intel information that we've received. Now, what is the big question we're taking a look at tonight? In this entire story, with this comment that's come in from the close aide of the Prime Minister a few hours ago, is a larger narco-terror plot, one that's been playing out over years. Does that stand exposed? Let's take a look. This is Plain Speak.
बिल्कुल, और ये बड़ी तशवीशनाक है। अभी रिसेंटली एक दो इंसिडेंट ऐसे हुए हैं जिसपे 10-10 केजी हीरोइन बांध के ड्रोन्स के ऊपर उसको फेंक रहे हैं बाहर।
All right, to discuss this issue with us tonight on the show, we have three voices joining us. A voice straight from Pakistan, Major Yasir Janjua is with us. He is a security analyst. We also have Major General A.K. Sivach. He's with us. He's someone who's appeared several times on the show. He's a strategic and defense expert. And lastly, we have Dr. Tara Karta. She's a former director of the National Security Council Secretariat, which, remember, sits at the apex of India's national security architecture. I'm going to go over first to Dr. Tara. Doctor, thank you for joining us this evening on CNN News 18. Doctor, I'm actually coming to you first to ask you to set the stage for our audiences. Could you explain to us, the timeline of this issue? We took our audiences back through data figures. We know that analysts have been saying, warning in fact, that this is an issue from 2018. Our first recorded incidents are from around 2019. But tell us a little bit more, Doctor, about the Punjab border area where these incidents take place. Tell us about what it's like for security officials, BSF and the Punjab police, to try to counter this. Then we'll ask you further questions.
See, the thing is, the whole narco scene has also shifted. Okay, you have, you've had the Golden Triangle, you have the Golden Crescent, all that has been going on for years. But in recent months, what has happened is that the Taliban have virtually destroyed the entire crop in Helmand, which was a core area, and probably some adjoining areas. So that means there is a huge shift in the drug trade, which might, what most experts are saying, that this could shift to Pakistan. And that the main, the dons who are in Pakistan, who obviously will operate under the security, with the knowledge of the security agencies. These are huge, massive operations. You had, for example, that this man, Haji Salim network, who was there recently. And his network came to light because it was so big that it was encompassed, I think, even parts of Moscow. It's all over. They're like an industry. So for these guys, drones is peanuts. It's not a big deal. Drones are being used for commercial purposes. It's readily available across the net. So to get this across to India, this is the easiest way, rather than get a human courier who will then be caught, and then we, get interrogation and get all the details about this person's network, for instance. Haji Salih, this guy is just one person. There's a bunch of them operating inside Pakistan, and who cannot, by virtue of the nature of the Pakistan state, cannot operate unless the security is with them. So in Punjab, what the border is like. There's high, circle grass, there is cultivation. It is humans also cross. It's not that. But the drone is by far the easiest. Every terror group has got a drone. Our problem is, narcotics is a huge, huge issue. We are one of the largest consumer states today. We were not earlier, we are now. Is that an ISI objective? Because it is eroding Punjab. It is eroding the youth of your country. If that is the objective, they are succeeding very well.
Okay. Ma'am, I want to ask you one more follow-up question before I go over to the other two guests. Ma'am, can you tell us, for a few years now, the Indian security establishment has connected what is described sometimes in the Pakistani media as smuggling initiatives to, as you in your answer said, to the ISI. Can you tell our audiences more about that connection, that larger network, so that we can have that information before we go over to our guest from Pakistan?
See, long back, there was a full report. It was called, it was a report by the CIA, which came out, I think, in Friday Times in Pakistan, detailing to the last digit what was going on in terms of the drug network. Now, that was some time back. But the point is, this is a country which has no money, which is broke. So if you want to, they've been organized narcotics traffickers during the Afghan jihad. Organized. This was done through the Pakistan Army logistics side, which everybody knows. where the US, well, the US turned a blind eye to that. That also we know. So you don't just blame Pakistan. Now the question is, if they want to fund their activities, where's the money going to come from? So that is where the angle comes in of what the ISI would want to do and what they are forced perhaps nowadays to do, because these guys are they're not going to do all this without some blessing from how far that blessing goes, we still don't know. But without the security state's blessing, no smuggler can operate. Especially these large scale guys.
Okay, doctor, stay with us. Let's go over now to the voice that we have joining us from Pakistan, Major Yasir Janjua. Sir, thank you for joining us this evening on CNN News 18. Sir, the statement that we actually played out for our audiences is one that came forward, and I want to very carefully read out Malik Mohd Ahmad Khan's formal designation here. He is the Special Assistant on Defence to the Pakistan Prime Minister. Sir, that's a voice from within the administration. He's again and again referred to, at least in our media, as a close aide of Shehbaz Sharif. So isn't this deeply embarrassing for the Pakistan state for a statement like this to be made on record? A statement that Indian security forces have been saying has existed for years now, to have this kind of confirmation.
Ma'am, thank you very much for inviting me on the show on this issue. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, Malik Mohd Ahmad Khan has said something wrong. He has said it, he must own it, and he's a responsible representative of the Prime Minister. And I'm not going to sit here and say that the drones are not flying into India carrying drugs. However, unfortunately, what you just saw, as a news reporter or as a TV channel, especially with the name of CNN attached to you, you should give both sides of the picture. I would appreciate if your investigative journalism would have shown, okay, you've shown, I think, 357 instances of Pakistani drones flying into India. Can you please also do some research, and probably in your next program, because you will not do it now, show how many drones from India are flying into Pakistan that have been shot down? Now, the problem Dr. Taira is saying and blaming it onto ISI, it's very easy and convenient for everybody in India to blame anything and everything onto ISI. Whether it's a pigeon flying in from Pakistan, you blame it on ISI. So these are otherwise not on pigeon, this is drone. So you will think, oh, ISI is doing it. We know there is a phobia about ISI. We know you guys. I'm not trying to create a heated discussion. You're a channel which I love because of the conversations and the debates take place in a very, very congenial atmosphere. But the fact is, don't blame everything. I mean, I was on 2 programs in the last 2 hours right now on 2 different Indian channels. There's a woman that has gone into Pakistan, and now there's a woman that has crossed into India illegally, and she was being blamed as an ISI agent. Understandable that you think she must have been an ISI agent. Now that the woman has come into Pakistan, how can she be an ISI agent? And honey trap, the term is not being well understood. So my point here is, you blame everything on ISI. This terrorism narcotics network, this is the pain in the neck for even the Americans. Even the US-Mexico border is not secure. So with all the might, with all the resources that the Americans have, even they cannot completely strike down on the narcotics network, and the drugs are still able to be penetrated into the American soil. So how on earth can you sit here and think that the India-Pakistan joint efforts, even if there are none, however, but even if they become jointly involved in curtailing the drugs on both the countries, I am not going to sit here and apologetically say that this is a good thing. This is very bad. If the drugs are being sent into India, in Punjab or any other region from narcotics peddlers in Pakistan, this is absolutely not defensible, and this is condemnable to the highest level, because youth, the youth who are going to get involved into these drugs, whether they are Indians or Pakistanis, they are my children, they are your children, we all should condemn it unequivocally.
Okay,
There is no doubt about it.
my hope,
We must not anyway
Major Janjua, 1 second, let me just say, my hope
drugs.
from this discussion that we're going to have, we have about 9 minutes left and I'm going to try to go to our other panelists too, but my hope from both you and from the other defense expert who joins us, Major General A.K. Sivach and Dr. Tara, is to try to find what you talked about, which is a collaborative solution. Now, we'll have those discussions. Sir, feel free. You said earlier that you have numbers with you. Feel free to bring those numbers. I want us to have a discussion about those numbers. I'll now go over to the other guest we have because I also want to make sure each of our guests gets time. The defense expert A.K. Sivach is with us. Mr. Sivach, there is the question. So when we heard right now from Major Janjua, he said that this is a problem that is a plight for Pakistanis too. It's unfair to say that this is just affecting Indians. Within Pakistan, this is a big problem. I want to understand from you, sir, can you tell our audiences, there is a sentiment within the Indian security apparatus that Pakistan is just not doing enough. Can you explain to our audiences why it is that the security apparatus believes so?
Yeah, two, three things. Second thing is this has a stamp of ISI. It is not that the drug peddlers are operating independently. There is a necro-terrorism which is taking place. It is the ISI which is involved in this. There is the K2 desk which is basically looking after terrorism in Kashmir as well as in Khalistan. Now, how do they operate? They are the one which send it through the drone, drugs as well as weapon and ammunition. Now, the drugs are basically to earn the money. In Punjab, the drugs are being sold and the money which is collected then are funded and these weapons are then taken to Kashmir. Now, this is the nexus which is there, and that is why, if you see it in 2 years back, the jurisdiction of BSF was increased from 5 kilometers to 50 kilometers because they know that maximum drone can fly is about 15 to 30 kilometers. Now, why it is very difficult to detect? You see, the point is that as far as drones are concerned, they are too small. They are not very costly. They are very cheap. They don't give signature, and it's very difficult to catch them basically by your radar. And it can be easily can be sent from Pakistan. And here there are overground worker and sleeper cell. They exactly know where this consignment is coming. They pick up that consignment and the drugs and weapons are separated and then they go to a different route. Now, the question which is coming is how do we ensure that this menace is stopped? Because our problem is this. And this is the known to everyone. And that's why Pakistan was in a grey list for money laundering and terrorist funding. And this is what was happening. Now, as far as we are concerned, we can only handle as far as the drones are concerned in two ways. One is that all the drones which have been shown, these drones have been either seen or they have been captured or they have been neutralized. There may be many more drones which were not caught at all. So the point is that point also has to be seen. Now, the question is how do we handle it? We are now making electronic warfare system wherein we will have two ways of handling these drones. One is called hard kill, one is called soft kill. The hard kill is that you fire at the drone and once you detect the drone then gets neutralized and fall down. And the soft kill is that electronic warfare, you jam its frequency and it falls. So all this has been worked out in India. Let me assure my viewers in News 18, this is as on today the biggest challenge which is there in Punjab and plains of Jammu and Kashmir, the drugs and weapons coming across from Pakistan. Let's take it as ground reality. And this challenge is the one which as a security forces, as security analyst, I have written tremendously on this issue. We have to take it very seriously and we have to find out the ways and means. Otherwise, the youth of Punjab and certain portion of Jammu and Kashmir will be completely ruined in time to come. And second thing is, this will increase the fueling. Khalistan movement, they want to activate, they want the weapon to become. And this is a challenge to the security forces. We are trying to come up to this thing. See, initially they were trying to come through line of control oblique international border. Now our basically border fencing and our counter infiltration grid is so well. Now it is very robust and very difficult to come. Now drones have changed the complete equation. Not only in India, Pakistan, in other places also. But here it has made a tremendous difference because there is a necro-terrorism and with the drugs is the involvement of ISI. They are the one which are sending these drugs. through
Okay.
their peddlers and this drugs and money.
General
and
Siraj,
as well as,
General Siraj,
weapons
I do want to go over and ask more questions of the analyst we have joining us from Pakistan. I do want to go over to him, and I also want to go over to the doctor that we have from the security establishment right here in India. So let me just very quickly go over to both of them to ask them more questions. All right, I'm going to first go over to the guest that we have joining us from Pakistan, Major Janjua. Sir, thank you for staying with us. Sir, I want to ask you, the serious allegation that's come against Pakistani establishment, and today we've talked about quite a few different allegations, but perhaps the most serious one, sir, is that this is money that is being used to fund terror in Jammu and Kashmir. Sir, our reporters and a number of members in the media establishment over the years, in fact, have said that there is enough proof of this. I'm wanting to understand from you, sir, what is the understanding of this within Pakistan? When I say within Pakistan, what do average citizens think is taking place? What is their understanding of this issue? Tell us that first, sir.
Ms. Singh, quite frankly, I have to say something to you. This is your one-sided, or there are two sides to a coin. This is your view that this Pakistani establishment or ISI is involved. If you ask me or the Pakistanis, we are the ones who actually opened the Kartar Sahib border. We asked the Sikhs to come and visit their holy places.
Yes,
the Prime
sir.
Minister
So that's
and the
why
Army Chief.
That's why I'm
spearheaded
asking you
that.
to show us the other
what I'm
side. Do
saying
tell
is-
us what the other side of the coin looks
Now
like.
we should talk about solutions. Although sitting here on talk shows, the solutions are not going to be implemented, but the solutions, as I talked earlier, and the General Sahib also touched upon it. Look, staying away from each other, India and Pakistan, we can't afford to stay away from each other. We have a joint border, so we need to talk to each other. The narcotics authorities of India should talk to Pakistani authorities. And Pakistani narcotics program is very much in line with the US Drug Enforcement Agency. A very strong presence of US Drug Enforcement Agency in Pakistan and a very strong collaboration with Pakistani Anti-Narcotics Task Force. So what I'm trying to say is the Indians and Pakistanis should create a working group, talk about this jointly, and curb this menace. I am not going to sit here and say this is what has happened is good. It is absolutely
Right.
bad.
Major, just
What
stay
I'm
with us
trying
for
to
a
say
second.
here is-
No,
and
Major,
this is
I
the
want to,
problem
one
of
sec, I want to take
diplomacy.
that solution you've just given. I want to go over to the doctor because we are on our last minute, and I want to ask her, Doctor, this idea we've talked about, India and Pakistan coming together and solving this issue, this is something that has been discussed for decades now. What remain the on-the-ground challenges to it, though?
No, we actually, Pakistan had a anti-narcotics task force, if I remember right, which was very good. They were excellent in their work. And in fact, we did earlier have pretty good cooperation with them. But that kind of stopped. You see, the problem is everything in Pakistan is dependent on this, on the security forces, that's of course the army, backing the civilians and them coming together to find solutions. That is the problem. I mean, recently you had that Haji Salim network, 2,500 kilograms of meth in Kochi. This is the kind of scale of operations you're talking about. So I would be very happy if Pakistan and India could come together very, very sincerely to address this problem, because it is a problem for Pakistanis themselves in terms of their own, youth getting into narcotics. And second, the last point is there is also a whole network on this side. We should remember that. We also need to deal with that, with who are the people who are spreading the drugs here, the kingpins. We need to get that too.
All right, ma'am. Thank you for providing us with that perspective. Major Janjua and Major General Shehbaz, thank you so much for joining us. Major Janjua, thank you for joining us from Pakistan. I'd like to thank all of you. Doctor, thank you for joining us, for providing us with that perspective. What does a two-country solution actually look like? We touched on that for just a few minutes. We weren't able to take a deeper dive. But right before we end this story, I want to bring you a ground report. My colleague Anvit Srivastav reported on exactly this a few weeks ago. Take a look at what he brought us.
In February this year, the BSF shot dead 3 Pakistani terrorists trying to infiltrate across the international border. More shocking was the recovery. 36 kilograms of heroin packed in 1 kilogram bags worth 180 crore in the international market. In the first 2 months of this year alone, 4 narcotic smuggling bids have been foiled, with 79 kilograms of drugs recovered. A rising proportion of the haul is heroin. It's the reign of narco terror in the valley.
The menace of drug addiction has destroyed the very fabric of the state. This was a recent observation made by Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh High Court during one of its cases. According to some government figures, the cases of drug addiction and drug abuse in the state have gone up by 600 to 700% in the recent past.
What we have seen, there has been dramatic increase in the patient rush from last 5-6 years. Some years back we used to see only 1,000 cases per year, around 2,000, 3,000 cases used to visit to us every year. But now unfortunately it has skyrocketed and we are seeing around 15,000 to 20,000 cases.
The rise in the volume of heroin pumped into India dates back to 2016. Following the killing of Hizbul terrorist Burhan Wani, tight scrutiny of Hawala transaction left terrorists looking for an alternate route to fund terror. And they found it in the drug trade.
2017 we had started witnessing heroin users here. So, and then the trend was that there was an increase in patients also.
Since 2016, there was a huge shift from all these drugs to heroin itself. I mean, even if you ask somebody, you were using this and this, now he will say, now I am particularly using heroin only. They don't need anything else because they get so high on heroin and it's a preferable drug for everyone.
There's another route. Packets of heroin are dropped by drones or flung across the LOC. These are collected by a network of what are referred to as overground workers or OGWs, Pakistan-backed terror operatives. But there is a difference from the usual drug trade. These consignments are paired with small arms.
Behind me is the international borders, and as you can see across the fence lies Pakistan. If we talk about Jammu and Kashmir together, the main porous areas according to security agencies which are used to pump narco into India and which is prominent for narco trade are Handwara, Tangdhar, Rajouri, Baramulla, Punch and Kathua. We are right now at one such spot. I'm not allowed to disclose the location, but one such spot close to which is a location which is very prominently used to smuggle narcotics into India.
7-8 सालों से पाकिस्तान की आईएसआई एजेंसीज हेल बेंट, क्योंकि हमारा ये मानना है कि जहां 35 साल की मिलिटेंसी कुछ ना कर पाई हमारी राष्ट्रभक्ति के ऊपर, वहां पे कहीं ना कहीं नैर्को टेररिज्म की उन्होंने एंट्री करवाने की कोशिश की है और उसके कारण जम्मू कश्मीर में जो केसेस, खासकर अगर हम हीरोइन ओपीएम की बात करें तो वो बढ़े।
90% of the opium is cultivated in Afghan, and through after Afghanistan it comes through trafficking through Pakistan, where it converts opium converts into heroin, and then it is trafficked or smuggled into India.
In 2020, over 36 kilograms of pure heroin was recovered from the valley, and the size of consignments is going up. 2 consignments with a value of 50 crore were recovered in Kupwara in April last year. 30 kilograms were found in Baramulla in October in bags with Pakistani markings. 36 kilograms of heroin was recovered in February this year from Samba. A narco terror funding module of the Lashkar-e-Toiba was busted just last month. While smuggling has gone up, so have the seizures.
We have cracked down, we have arrested various drug peddlers, various consignments also. The Pakistani trucks took it under the cover of fruits and dry fruits and all, and we recovered. These trucks are still there, lying there at our police station. So main focus, main portion, the biggest portion shall be of Pakistan.
Use of drones along the LOCs to drop off these drug consignments from Pakistan into India have become very common. What's more worrying is the security agencies say that often these consignments are accompanied by cache of arms, mostly pistols. While these pistols go to militants directly, the overground workers or small-time drug peddlers sell these drugs, narcotics, to get money. Even though the cases have gone up, security agencies say that so has gone up the crackdown, the FIRs, the seizures and the arrests. But looking at the rising number of drug abusers in J&K, are these crackdowns enough? Only in time to come we'll see if the government lays down any policy stringent enough to put these rising cases completely to rest. In a special report with video journalist Arjun Singh, this is Anvish Srivastava from CNN News 18.
All right, we're heading into a very short break right here on Plain Speak. But right before we go, we want to take you into a different story. We want to tell you what we're discussing right after this break. Earlier today, we shared a super scoop on what the Uniform Civil Code could look like. Remember, the Uniform Civil Code is a central part of the BJP agenda. They're saying they want to introduce it before 2024, a common set of rules, no matter what religion you're part of. Now, solving a big part of that, we're learning that it's possible that tribal customs will be kept out of the UCC ambit. But does this actually resolve the tribal question, or does it further complicate it? That's what we're taking a look at in just a few minutes right here on the show.
Powered by 40,738 cases of crimes against women. It's the second highest for any state in this country. The opposition is saying that this is a false equivalence. That you can't say just because to divert attention or just to negate or blunt the criticism of what's happened in Manipur, you can't cite Rajasthan, you can't cite Chhattisgarh. Is that a fair criticism?
So Zaka, I think look, I think politicians will always play politics. I think it is the fact that there is violence against women in Rajasthan is true. If you look at any North Indian state, you will find similar numbers in comparison relative to other states in India. Are they? Should they be lamented? Are they a matter of shame? Absolutely. Does one wrong make another wrong right? No. Has there been a problem in Manipur? Yes. The difference between Manipur and Rajasthan and others, all of them are wrong. The difference is that in Manipur you've had several weeks, months of violence which the state is struggling to put down. So it's a different magnitude of problem. I think while politics should happen, while politics is perfectly legitimate, the opposition and the BJP are perfectly all right to throw right at each other. But I think one wrong does not make the other wrong right. This water boilery will not lead us anywhere.
About Manipur, the government is stressing that this is essentially an ethnic clash between two groups, between the Kukis and the Metis. And Manipur has had, and you've done significant research in these matters, Nalin, that there has been a number of occasions in the last 70 years, there have been these ethnic clashes, tribal versus non-tribal clashes that have happened in Manipur. Mr. Amit Shah, as Home Minister of the country, was there, I believe, for 3 days back in June. The MOS home, I believe, was there for 20 days straight, right? Today, top government sources are saying that they are very close to getting both sides to come to the negotiating table. That the violence has not completely stopped, but it has significantly abated. The last death that happened was on the 18th of July. The government is hoping that in the next few days, they will be able to get significant sort of leadership of the Kuki and the Meti communities to come together and sit across the table and sort this out. They are saying the last time a home minister visited Manipur on the back of this kind of ethnic flare-up was in 1993 when Rajesh Pilot was junior home minister and he spent all of 3 hours in Manipur. So the government is saying, here you have a home minister who spent 3 days there, and he's saying in both the houses that he is willing to stand up and take questions from the opposition, be in the firing line, because at the end of the day, law and order folds into the Home Department and he is the Home Minister at the end of the day. Why not start that debate? Why is the opposition, by insisting that Mr. Modi has to make the statement and that the debate will follow Mr. Modi's statement, you're actually depriving yourself an opportunity to put the government, as they say in Hindi, khadgare mein kade karne ka opportunity, you are losing it. Nalin.
I think, Zaka, I think the debate should happen. A motion has been filed, it's been accepted. The debate should happen. I'm not sure that any purpose is served by insisting on this thing that the statement has to come before a debate. The government, in fact, it is the essence of democracy that you hold the government to account and ask them questions. The debate should happen. And now that the motion has been accepted, I don't see why the opposition in fact, several opposition leaders have also now said, why keep insisting on this? As far as Manipur is concerned, you are right that the problem here is of an ethnic divide. It's always been the case. But now the real issue for the state government right now is that there is a trust deficit on the Maiti and the Kuki question. The Home Minister went and met Kuki leaders outside of the Imphal Valley, but N. Biren Singh didn't. And that, I think, is the problem for the BJP government, which all of this should be debated on the floor of the House. I'm not sure any purpose is served now on the semantics of whether X person should speak first or Y person should speak first. Have it out and debate it openly in Parliament.
Okay, so joining us on the talking point this evening here on Brass Tacks, GVL Narasimha Rao is Rajya Sabha Member of Parliament to the BJP. Adil Singh Bopara is spokesperson of the Congress, who will be joining us. Rashid Kidwai, senior journalist, and Nalin Mehta is group consulting editor with Network 18. GVL Narasimha Rao, so the Prime Minister referring to the Red Diary, saying that if the Red Diary is opened, then big names in the Congress will fall, etc. We don't know where this Red Diary is, leave alone what the contents of it are. So the opposition is asking, why bring in this? On what basis is the Prime Minister talking about big names in the Congress falling if the Red Diary is open? And also, please respond to the criticism that if he can go to Rajasthan and campaign, why can't he come to Parliament and make a statement on Manipur? That's what the opposition is asking.
Yeah, Zaka, on Red Diaries, I think the Prime Minister's observations or his comments in the speech have rattled whom it is really intended for. Ashok Gehlot, Chief Minister of Rajasthan, responded rather very worriedly, and it seems Red Diaries are a matter of folklore in Rajasthan, and a lot of people possibly know that what exists in these diaries. So obviously, while I am not privy to the contents of these Red Diaries, they are known to be they are known to have a lot of evidence against corruption by the ministers and the Chief Minister of Rajasthan, and otherwise a reference of this kind, Chief Minister, there was no need for him to react wildly the way he has reacted, number one. Number two, about the statements of Prime Minister
मेरे साथ बोलिए, भारत माता की। भाई ऐसी आवाज नहीं चलेगी।
இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் சத்தமா சொல்லுங்க।
दोनों हाथ उठाइए। 24 के चुनाव जीतने के संकल्प की मुट्ठी भींचिए।
2024 ஆண்டு தேர்தலை வெற்றி பெறுவதற்கான கையை உயர்த்துங்கள்।
और प्रचंड आवाज से बोलिए, भारत माता की, भारत माता की। आज जिनके नेतृत्व में एन मन एन मक्कल यात्रा की शुरुआत हो रही है, ऐसे मेरे प्रिय भाई और तमिलनाडु भारतीय जनता पार्टी के अध्यक्ष के अन्नामलाई जी, अन्नामलाई जरा आगे आओ। सभी लोग अन्नामलाई के लिए जोर से स्वागत में ताली बजाइए।
இன்று என் மண் என் மக்கள் என்கின்ற நடைப்பயணத்தை தொடங்கவிருக்கின்ற என்னுடைய அன்பு சகோதரர் அண்ணாமலை அவர்களே,
डॉक्टर एल मुरुगन जी, श्री आर बी उदय कुमार जी, एआईडीएमके के नेता, श्री सीटी रवि जी, भारतीय जनता पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय महासचिव, श्री पी सुधाकर रेड्डी जी, यहां के हमारे प्रभारी श्री एसी षणमुगम जी, अध्यक्ष न्यू इंडिया जस्टिस पार्टी, श्री जी के वासन जी, तमिल मनीला श्री टी देवनाथन यादव जी, अध्यक्ष इंडिया मक्कल कालवी मुनेत्र कड़गम, श्री वी जॉन पांडियन जी, श्रीमती वानती श्रीनिवासन जी, श्री पौन राधाकृष्णन जी, श्री नयनार नागेंद्रन जी, मंच पर बैठे हुए एनडीए का नेतृत्वगण और आज रामेश्वरम की रामनाथ स्वामी की भूमि पर आए हुए मेरे प्यारे भाइयों और बहनों, वणक्कम, नमस्कार।
தேசிய ஜனநாயக கூட்டணியிலே அங்கம் வகிக்கின்ற மேடையிலே அமர்ந்திருக்கின்ற என்னுடைய அன்பு நண்பர்கள், எல்லா கட்சி தலைவர்கள் அவர்களே, இங்கே ராமநாத சுவாமியினுடைய அருளாசையை பெறுவதற்காக வந்திருக்கின்ற மக்களே,
नाम छोड़ दो, खाली नाम छोड़ दीजिए, बाकी का बोलिए। भाइयों और बहनों, सबसे पहले मैं दुनिया की सबसे प्राचीन भाषा तमिल में बोल नहीं सकता हूं, इसलिए आप सबसे क्षमा मांगता हूं।
உலகத்தின் மிக பழமையான மொழியாகிய தமிழ் மொழியிலே உங்களிடத்திலே பேச முடியாததற்காக முதலில் உங்களிடத்திலே நான் மன்னிப்பு கேட்டுக்கொள்கிறேன்।
भारत की परंपरा, भारत की महान संस्कृति, हमारे धर्म और हमारी साझी विरासत के समागम जैसे रामेश्वरम की इस पवित्र धरती को मैं प्रणाम करता हूं।
இந்த ராமேஸ்வர பூமியானது இந்தியாவின் இந்து மதத்தின் நம்முடைய பாரம்பரியத்தின் சின்னமாக விளங்குகிறது। இந்த பூமியின் மக்கள் அனைவருக்கும் நான் என் இருகரம் கூப்பி வணக்கம் தெரிவிக்கிறேன்।
मित्रों, आज रामनाथ स्वामी के सानिध्य से हमारे नेता अन्नामलाई जी एन मन एन मक्कल यात्रा लेकर तमिलनाडु भर में पैदल चलने के लिए निकल रहे हैं।
ராமநாத சுவாமி அவருடைய அருளாசியின் கூட எடுத்துக்கொண்டு நம்முடைய பாஜகவின் மாநில தலைவர் அண்ணாமலை அவர்கள் தமிழ்நாடு முழுவதும் நடைப்பயணம் செல்லவிருக்கிறார்।
मित्रों, एन मन एन मक्कल यात्रा केवल राजनीतिक यात्रा नहीं है।
அன்பு நண்பர்களே, இந்த என் மண் என் மக்கள் நடைப்பயணமானது வெறும் அரசியல் சார்ந்த நடைப்பயணம் அல்ல।
एन मन एन मक्कल यात्रा महान तमिल भाषा को पूरी दुनिया में पहुंचाने की यात्रा है।
என் மண் என் மக்கள் நடைப்பயணம் இந்த பழமையான தமிழ் மொழியை உலகம் முழுவதும் கொண்டு சேர்ப்பதற்கான ஒரு நடைப்பயணமாகும்।
एन मन एन मक्कल यात्रा तमिल संस्कृति को कश्मीर से कन्याकुमारी और कलकत्ता से लेकर सोमनाथ तक पहुंचाने की यात्रा है।
இந்த என் மண் என் மக்கள் என்கின்ற நடைப்பயணம் தமிழகத்தின் இந்த கலாச்சாரத்தை பண்பாட்டை காஷ்மீரில் இருந்து கன்னியாகுமரி வரை கல்கத்தாவில் இருந்து சோமநாத் வரை கொண்டு செல்லும் ஒரு நடைப்பயணமாகும்।
एन मन एन मक्कल यात्रा महान तमिल संस्कृति को पूरे भारत के 130 करोड़ लोगों के मन में सम्मान पैदा करने की एक कवायद है।
இந்த என் மண் என் மக்கள் நடைப்பயணம் இந்திய நாட்டின் 130 கோடி மக்களின் மனதிலே ஒரு மரியாதையை ஏற்படுத்துவதற்காக நடத்தப்படுகின்ற ஒரு நடைப்பயணம்।
एन मन एन मक्कल यात्रा तमिलनाडु को परिवारवाद से मुक्त करने की यात्रा है।
என் மண் என் மக்கள் நடைப்பயணம் தமிழகத்திலிருந்து குடும்ப ஆட்சியை ஒழிப்பதற்காக செய்யப்படுகின்ற ஒரு நடைப்பயணம்।
एन मन एन मक्कल यात्रा तमिलनाडु को भ्रष्टाचार से मुक्त कराने की यात्रा है।
என் மண் என் மக்கள் நடைப்பயணம் தமிழ்நாட்டை ஊழலிலிருந்து விடுவிப்பதற்காக செய்யப்படுகின்ற ஒரு நடைப்பயணம்।
एन मन एन मक्कल यात्रा तमिलनाडु के कानून और व्यवस्था को अच्छा बनाने का एक प्रयास है।
இந்த என் மண் என் மக்கள் நடைப்பயணம் தமிழ்நாட்டிலே இருக்கின்ற சட்டம் ஒழுங்கை சீர்படுத்துவதற்காக செய்யப்படுகின்ற ஒரு நடைப்பயணம்.
और एन मन एन मक्कल यात्रा तमिलनाडु में भ्रष्टाचार के युग की समाप्ति कर विकास का युग, गरीब कल्याण का युग शुरू करने की यात्रा है.
ஊழல்வாதிகளை ஒழித்து ஏழை மக்களின் நலத்தை பேணுகின்ற ஒரு அரசினை உருவாக்குவதற்காக செய்யப்படுகின்ற ஒரு நடைப்பயணம் இந்த என் மக்கள் என் மண் என் மக்கள் நடைப்பயணம்.
आप थोड़ा लिख कर बोलिए तो गलती नहीं होगी. मित्रों, इस यात्रा में हमारे युवा नेता अन्ना मलाई जी वाहन के द्वारा 10,000 किलोमीटर और पैदल 700 किलोमीटर की पद यात्रा कर तमिलनाडु की हर विधानसभा में जाने वाले हैं.
இன்று இந்த நடைப்பயணத்தை தொடங்கி 700 கிலோமீட்டர் தூரம் நடந்து தமிழ்நாட்டிலே உள்ள 234 தொகுதிகளையும் நம்முடைய மாநில தலைவர் அண்ணாமலை அவர்கள் நடக்கவிருக்கிறார்.
इस महान तमिलनाडु के हर जिले में, हर असेंबली में हमारे प्रिय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का संदेश लेकर जाने वाले हैं.
இந்த தமிழ்நாட்டிலே இருக்கின்ற ஒவ்வொரு மாவட்டத்திலும் ஒவ்வொரு அசெம்பிளி தொகுதியிலும் நம்முடைய பிரியத்திற்குரிய பாரத பிரதமர் நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்களின் செய்தியை கொண்டு செல்லவிருக்கிறார் தன்னுடைய நடைப்பயணத்தின் மூலமாக திரு அண்ணாமலை அவர்கள்.
एमजी रामचंद्रन और महान जयललिता के गरीब कल्याण के मंत्र को गांव-गांव तक पहुंचाने के लिए हमारे नेता जाने वाले हैं.
புரட்சி தலைவர் எம்ஜிஆர், புரட்சி தலைவர் ஜெயலலிதா ஆகியோரின் ஏழைகள் நலத்திட்டங்களை மீண்டும் கொண்டு வருவதற்காக இந்த நடைப்பயணத்தை செய்கிறார் நம்முடைய மாநில தலைவர் திரு அண்ணாமலை அவர்கள்.
मित्रों, एन मन एन मक्कल यात्रा के माध्यम से हमारे प्रदेश अध्यक्ष जी अन्ना मलाई जी महान तमिल भाषा, महान तमिल संस्कृति, तमिल साम्राज्यों का इतिहास, तमिलनाडु के देश की समृद्धि में योगदान और प्रदेशवाद की जगह सबको साथ लेने वाला मोदी जी के राष्ट्रवाद को तमिलनाडु में प्रस्तापित करने जा रहे हैं.
பாஜகவின் மாநில தலைவர் திரு அண்ணாமலை அவர்கள் தன்னுடைய இந்த நடைப்பயணத்தின் மூலமாக பாரம்பரியம் மிக்க தமிழ் மொழியையும் தமிழ் கலாச்சாரத்தையும் மேலும் வளப்படுத்தி நம்முடைய பிரதமர் அவர்களின் செய்தியை தமிழகத்தில் உள்ள அனைத்து மக்களிடமும் கொண்டு சேர்க்கவிருக்கிறார்.
मोदी जी ने हमेशा तमिल भाषा, तमिल संस्कृति और तमिल नेताओं के उद्गारों को समग्र विश्व में अनेक मंचों से दुनिया के सामने रखा है.
பாரத பிரதமர் நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள் தமிழ் மொழியின் பழமையை சிறப்பினை உலகத்தின் பல்வேறு மேடைகளில் சென்று முழங்கி இருக்கிறார்.
यूनाइटेड नेशन में सबसे पहले विश्व की सबसे पुरानी तमिल भाषा में बोलने वाले प्रधानमंत्री हमारे नरेंद्र मोदी जी है.
ஐக்கிய நாடுகள் சபையிலே உலகத்திலேயே மிகவும் பழமையான மொழியாகிய தமிழ் மொழியை பற்றி பேசியது நம்முடைய பாரத பிரதமர் திரு நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள்.
यथु मऊ रेया वरुमक लीर समग्र दुनिया एक है, ये G20 का घोष वाक्य तमिलनाडु संस्कृति से है. ये समग्र विश्व के सामने यूनाइटेड नेशन की जनरल असेंबली में नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने कहा है.
G20 அதனுடைய கூட்டங்கள் எல்லாம் இப்போது நாட்டிலே நடக்கிறது. அதன் முத்திரை வாசகமான யாதும் ஊரே யாவரும் கேளிர் என்ற வாசகத்தை நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள் ஐக்கிய நாடுகள் சபையிலே முழங்கினார்.
अपनी फ्रांस यात्रा के दौरान मोदी जी ने महान संत तिरुवल्लुवर की प्रतिमा के निर्माण की घोषणा की है।
பாரத பிரதமர் நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள் திருவள்ளுவரின் சிலை நிறுவப்படும் என்பதையும் அறிவித்திருக்கிறார்கள்.
तमिल के साथ साथ देश के हर राज्य की भाषा को गौरव दिलाने के लिए 11 दिसंबर को राष्ट्रीय भाषा दिवस घोषित कर सुब्रमण्यम भारती को महान श्रद्धांजलि हमारे नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने दी है।
மகாகவி பாரதியார் அவர்களின் பிறந்த தினமாக டிசம்பர் 11ஆம் நாள் இந்திய தேசிய மொழிகள் தினமாக அறிவித்து அவர் பாரத பிரதமர் நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள் நம்மை பெருமைப்படுத்தி இருக்கிறார்.
उत्तरी श्रीलंका में तमिल संस्कृति और इतिहास को संरक्षित करने के लिए प्रधानमंत्री जी ने 120 करोड़ रुपया खर्च कर जापना सांस्कृतिक केंद्र की घोषणा की है।
வட இலங்கையில் தமிழ் மக்களின் பாரம்பரியத்தை காப்பதற்காக 120 கோடி ரூபாய் செலவிலே அங்கே ஒரு கலாச்சார மையத்தை பாரத பிரதமர் நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள் திறந்திருக்கிறார்கள்.
काशी तमिल संगमम और तमिल सौराष्ट्र संगमम से तमिल संस्कृति को उत्तर भारत और पश्चिम भारत में पहुंचाने का काम हमारे नेता नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने किया है।
காசி தமிழ் சங்கமம் நிகழ்ச்சியின் மூலமும் சௌராஷ்டிரா தமிழ் சங்கமம் நிகழ்ச்சியின் மூலமும் தமிழின் பெருமையை வடக்கிலும் இந்தியாவின் மேற்கிலும் பரப்பியவர் நமது பாரத பிரதமர் திரு நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள்.
पपुआ न्यू गिनी गए मोदी जी, वहां उन्होंने तिरुकुरल का वहां की भाषा में भाषांतर कराकर वहां बसे हुए लोगों के लिए एक नई संस्कृति के जुड़ाव की शुरुआत की है।
பாரத பிரதமர் நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள் பப்புவா நியூ கினியா நாட்டிற்கு சென்றார். நமது திருக்குறளை அந்த நாட்டு மொழியிலே மொழிபெயர்த்து வெளியிட்டிருக்கிறார். இதன் மூலம் அந்த நாட்டு மக்கள் ஒரு மாபெரும் பாரம்பரியத்தின் கலாச்சாரத்தை பற்றி தெரிந்து கொள்கிறார்கள்.
और अभी नए पार्लियामेंट के भवन के उद्घाटन में सेंगोल को स्थापित कर तमिल संस्कृति को पार्लियामेंट में सम्मान देने का काम हमारे नेता नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने किया है।
இப்போது மிகச் சமீபத்தில் பாராளுமன்றத்தில் செங்கோலை ஸ்தாபித்ததன் மூலம் தமிழ் கலாச்சாரத்தின் தமிழ் பண்பாட்டின் பெருமையை நம்முடைய பாராளுமன்றத்தில் புதிய பாராளுமன்றத்தில் அரங்கேற்றி இருக்கிறார் நமது பாரத பிரதமர் நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள்.
मोदी जी ने इस 9 साल में जातिवाद, परिवारवाद, तुष्टीकरण और प्रदेशवाद की जगह पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ परफॉर्मेंस के पॉलिटिक्स की स्थापना की है।
பாரத பிரதமர் நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள் கடந்த 9 ஆண்டுகளில் ஜாதிவாதம், குடும்ப ஆட்சி, ஊழல் ஆட்சி ஆகியவற்றிற்கு எதிராக தன்னுடைய பணியை முடுக்கிவிட்டிருக்கிறார்.
मित्रों, विपक्ष का गठबंधन 10 साल तक यूपीए की सरकार चली, कांग्रेस डीएमके की सरकार चली। 10 साल में 12 लाख करोड़ से ज्यादा घपले, घोटाले, भ्रष्टाचार किया।
எதிர்க்கட்சிகளின் கூட்டணி, பழைய யூபிஏ கூட்டணி 10 ஆண்டுகள் ஆட்சியிலே இருந்தது. 12,000 கோடி அளவிற்கு ஊழல் செய்திருக்கிறது.
मित्रों, मैं आज कांग्रेस पार्टी और तमिलनाडु के मुख्यमंत्री स्टालिन जी को कहना चाहता हूं, नाम बदलने से कुछ नहीं होता। जैसे ही आप जनता के सामने जाते हो, लोगों को 2G घोटाला याद आता है।
நான் இன்று ஒன்று சொல்லிக்கொள்ள விரும்புகிறேன். காங்கிரஸ் கட்சிக்கும் தமிழகத்தின் மாண்புமிகு முதலமைச்சர் மு.க. ஸ்டாலின் அவர்களுக்கும் ஒன்றை சொல்லிக்கொள்ள விரும்புகிறேன்.
जैसे ही आप जनता के सामने जाते हो, कॉमनवेल्थ घोटाला याद आता है।
நீங்கள் மக்களிடத்திலே உங்களுடைய வாக்குகளை கோருவதற்காக செல்லும் போது உங்களுடைய 2G தான் நினைவுக்கு வரும். உங்களுடைய காமன்வெல்த் போட்டிகளில் நீங்கள் செய்த ஊழல் தான் நினைவுக்கு வரும்.
जब भी आप जनता के सामने जाते हो कोयला घोटाला जनता को याद आता है.
எப்போதெல்லாம் நீங்கள் மக்களிடத்திலே வாக்கு சேகரிக்க செல்லுகிறீர்களோ அப்போதெல்லாம் அவர்களுக்கு கரியிலே நீங்கள் செய்த ஊழல் தான் நினைவுக்கு வரும்.
जब भी आप जनता के सामने जाते हो आज भी चॉपर स्कैम याद आता है.
எப்போதெல்லாம் நீங்கள் மக்களிடத்திலே வாக்கு சேகரிக்க செல்லுகிறீர்களோ அப்போதெல்லாம் அவர்களுக்கு ஹெலிகாப்டர் ஊழல் தான் நினைவுக்கு வரும்.
जब भी आप जनता के सामने जाते हो सबमरीन घोटाला भी याद आता है.
எப்போதெல்லாம் நீங்கள் மக்களிடத்திலே ஓட்டு கேட்க செல்லுகிறீர்களோ அப்போதெல்லாம் நீங்கள் செய்த அந்த ஊழல்கள் தான் அவர்களுக்கு நினைவுக்கு வரும்.
जब भी आप जाते हो अंतरिक्ष में इसरो घोटाला भी जनता को याद आता है.
இஸ்ரோ நிறுவனத்திலே நீங்கள் செய்த அந்த விண்வெளி ஆராய்ச்சி நிறுவனத்திலே நீங்கள் செய்த அந்த ஊழல் தான் மக்களுக்கு ஞாபகத்திற்கு வரும்.
मित्रों ये यही टोली है जिसने धारा 370 हटाने का विरोध किया था.
இந்த கூட்டணி தான் அரசியல் சட்ட திருத்தம் 370 மாற்றுவதற்கு எதிர்ப்பு தெரிவித்தது, நீக்குவதற்கு எதிர்ப்பு தெரிவித்தது.
मैं आज इस जनता को तमिलनाडु की महान जनता को पूछने आया हूं कश्मीर हमारा है या नहीं है.
நான் இங்கு இந்த தமிழ்நாட்டு மக்களிடத்திலே ஒரு கேள்வியை கேட்க விரும்புகிறேன். காஷ்மீர் இந்தியாவுடையதா நம்முடையதா இல்லையா சொல்லுங்கள்.
जोर से बोलिए है या नहीं है. धारा 370 हटानी चाहिए या नहीं हटानी चाहिए. मोदी जी ने धारा 370 हटाई. ये डीएमके और कांग्रेस पार्टी भारतीय जनता पार्टी का विरोध करती थी.
பாரத பிரதமர் நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள் அந்த 370 சட்ட திருத்தம் அதனை நீக்கினார்கள். அப்போது காங்கிரசும் திராவிட முன்னேற்ற கழகமும் அதனை எதிர்த்தது.
मित्रों मुझे बताओ देश को आतंकवाद से मुक्त करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए.
நண்பர்களே சொல்லுங்கள், நாட்டை தீவிரவாதத்திலிருந்து விடுவிக்க வேண்டுமா வேண்டாமா.
जब मोदी जी ने आतंकवाद पर लगाम लगाने के लिए सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक और एयर स्ट्राइक किया ये यूपीए वाले इसका विरोध कर रहे थे.
பாரத பிரதமர் நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள் தீவிரவாதத்தை ஒடுக்குவதற்காக சர்ஜிக்கல் ஸ்ட்ரைக், ஏர் ஸ்ட்ரைக் இரண்டு விமானம் மூலம் தாக்குதல் நடத்திய போது இந்த யூபிஏ கட்சிகள் தான் அதனை எதிர்த்தது.
मित्रों आज मैं तमिल जनता को ये भी याद कराने आया हूं यही कांग्रेस यूपीए के शासन में ही तमिलों का नरसंहार श्रीलंका में हुआ था.
நண்பர்களே மேலும் ஒரு விஷயத்தை உங்களுக்கு நான் இப்போது சொல்ல விரும்புகிறேன். இதே யூபிஏ அரசாங்கம் தான் இலங்கையில் தமிழர்கள் அழித்து ஒழிக்கப்படுவதற்கு காரணமாக இருந்தார்கள் என்பதும் உங்களுக்கு தெரியும்.
इन्होंने के समय में ही तमिल मछुआरों की दुर्दशा जो हुई इसके जिम्मेदार डीएमके और कांग्रेस पार्टी है.
இவர்களுடைய ஆட்சி காலத்திலே தமிழக மீனவர்கள் பட்ட கஷ்ட நஷ்டங்கள் துன்பங்கள் இவற்றிற்கெல்லாம் காரணம் யூபிஏ அரசாங்கமும் திராவிட முன்னேற்ற கழகமும் தான்.
मित्रों ये विपक्ष का जो टोला है वो भारत का विकास नहीं करना चाहता है, अपने परिवार का विकास करना चाहता है.
இந்த எதிர்க்கட்சி கூட்டணி நாட்டை வளர்க்க வேண்டும் என்று நினைக்கவில்லை, அவர்களது குடும்பத்தை வளர்க்க வேண்டும் என்று நினைக்கிறார்கள்.
सोनिया गांधी को राहुल गांधी जी को प्रधानमंत्री बनाना है.
சோனியா காந்தி அவர்களுக்கு ராகுல் காந்தியை பிரதமராக்க வேண்டும் என்ற ஆசை.
स्टालिन जी को उदयनिधि को मुख्यमंत्री बनाना है.
ஸ்டாலினுக்கு உதயநிதி அவர்களை முதல் மந்திரியாக்க வேண்டும் என்ற விருப்பம்.
लालू जी को तेजस्वी को मुख्यमंत्री बनाना है.
லாலு பிரசாத் யாதவ் அவர்களுக்கு பீகாரில் தேஜஸ்வி அவர்களை முக்கிய மந்திரியாக ஆக்க வேண்டும் என்ற விருப்பம்.
ममता दीदी को अपने भतीजे को मुख्यमंत्री बनाना है.
மம்தா அவர்களுக்கு அவருடைய மருமகனை மேற்கு வங்கத்தின் முதல்வராக ஆக்க வேண்டும் என்ற எண்ணம்.
और उद्धव ठाकरे जी को अपने बेटे को मुख्यमंत्री बनाना है.
மகாராஷ்டிரத்தில் உத்தவ் தாக்கரே அவர்களுக்கு அவருடைய மகனை முதல்வராக்க ஆக வேண்டும் என்ற விருப்பம்.
Namaste, Jai Hind and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. In this edition, ladies and gentlemen, we focus on two important aspects of Bharat's growth story. Two critical aspects that usually will not make prime time debates, but we said no, we must take the right stand and that's why we will. One aspect is to set up what the Union Minister himself says will be a $110 billion plus industry in the next 5 to 7 years. An absolutely brand new vertical hitherto not